G.I.J. is back, baby. It needs to be expressed because the thing I want people to understand is that when you're venturing into something, let's say if you want to venture into podcasts, you have to have the mindset to think to the future. You have to, because the point that you get stagnant and you just are like, what the fuck? I hate doing shit on crunch time. I hate that. For me, if you give me my classes Monday and you open up the next week's modules, let's say Tuesday of that same week that I'm doing the work, I like that because then I could get a head start. I could already start doing for the future, because I'll be like, okay, if I knock this out here, there, I got the weekend to myself for 2 weekends straight. I'm golden. I don't have to worry about shit. If you don't have that type of mindset, dude, you're not going to really go far, because all you're going to keep thinking about is just for the present day versus thinking about how can we in 3 months time, because we're going to continue to do this. How can we in 3 months time do something else bigger, expand it, revise it, reformat, whatever the case would be? How can we do that? And that helps me to feed off of you. Because when you start expressing ideas, it's like, okay, sounds good. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now let me throw my little nuggets in there, and maybe we could expand it on a bigger thing, because now we're networking, right? Now we sort of created a little circle here because of people I know, people and now we're bringing it sort of into one. We're uniting all these networks, these connections to hopefully grow something much bigger. But if your mindset wasn't like that, we would have just been right here still. You know what I'm saying? We would have just still been talking back and forth.
Well, that shit was last year, though. That shit was, I was telling my wife, like, hey, look, and that's why I say sometimes I feel bad for last year. I'm like, hey, okay, look, I'm thinking about this. Like, okay, I see this from over here. I want to apply it over here. So I've had this plan for months, man, a year, right, of like, hey, I think we do it. But it's not, it's like, if I told you last year, like, imagine we came on and we're on like 4 or 5 episodes. I'm like, hey, man, I have this idea for this little network we got going on, right? You'd be like, we just started it. And I'm like, no. Like, trust me. Like, I just see it. To me, it's so clear. It's just, I didn't have the details of things. And now, boom, we met Marcus. I was like, cool. I got this. A little bit clear. We met the twins, Heidi and Heather, a little bit clear. And seeing what they do, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, man, it's just kind of like the pieces are falling into it, but the vision was so clear. It's just the details are starting to become a little bit clearer for me. But I had that idea last month. And that's another thing I tell two people is like, man, sometimes you got to be careful about what you talk about, because there's a difference between a dreamer and a fucking executor. Like, just being able to execute. And a lot of times it's easy to talk about what you want to fucking do. And it's great. You and I can sit down and I can tell you, Mike, again, all these things. When I'm telling you, I'm thinking about a great grandson, what we're doing for a company. And everyone's like, well, what kind of company do you have? Like, well, I have, real estate, and I'm coming with an online boutique store. Everyone's like, where the fuck is that exec coming from? I don't have it yet. But to me, it's like, I don't worry about that. I'm like, I'm fine. That's going to be there. I got time to get to here. But you have to be careful when you're sharing your vision with other people, because just because you can see it, they may not see it. And sometimes what the information you're giving them, they're giving you feedback on. And if you can't provide that feedback, because to you, it's not that big of a deal, right? They come back and they may not, and sometimes some people may not even be negative. A lot of times people are projecting what they see on themselves and onto you. So if they've had a business, right? Like your friend with the minks, right? She's doing this one. So if you were to ask her about starting her own business, she'd probably be like, oh yeah, do this. Hey man, you can get on social media. You can do it yourself. You don't need to be da-da-da. But if you talk to somebody who did the same thing and they failed at it, they'd be like, hey man, you can't be doing it. Man, that businesses are really hard to get into. These people do this and that. And so it's like two different perspectives based off of what people bring. So when people are telling you they're like the realities of things, it's just what they see. And they're putting on what they can do onto you too as well. So it's like, it's a up and down sword. There's sometimes where it's almost better to shut the fuck up and not tell nobody really what you're doing. Cause it's nice to tell you, hey, I got this online boutique store. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Here's a design. You're like, oh shit. Like, yeah. Like, this is really serious. Shared a picture of the hats we got coming down the pipeline. Like, we're working on things. We're da-da-da. And it's like, okay, cool. Now people can start seeing this. I wasn't just talking shit, because that's another reality that we got to mention. A lot of people are always saying what they want to do. Hey man, dude, I got this idea, man. It'd be cool. Hey, guess what? You and I, we can go down the center real quick. And they have this idea, and then 2 weeks later, nothing. A month later, nothing. 5 years, yeah, man, I had this one idea one time, and dude, it would be so crazy. And you're just like, you're still stuck on that. Like, you didn't even go talk to the bank. We don't even know if it's a possibility. So I say that's also why, because you got to be careful as a person who is like ambitious, man. Like, you're telling some people sometimes, but what have you done to get credit, right? After I get this online boutique store, and I'm like, hey, Izzy, man, I got an idea for a hat store. I have credit now because I have the online boutique store. But if I'm like, hey, I want to do this, and you're just like, man, you haven't even, you're in debt. Like, you're bad with money, and you want to start a business. Like,
but that's why it goes back to where we were saying, if you have the people around you, they're gonna still nudge you. So 2 weeks down the road, you didn't execute shit. That's where those friends who are positive thinkers that are gonna say, yo, what the fuck happened? You told me your vision was this, dude. Let's do it. Like, why are you slacking? Why are you holding back? Because I think also a lot of people fear, right? They have that reprisal to where they're like, I see it. My vision is this. Like, I could see this empire growing from it. But then the execution part, because they fear the rejection, or they fear that it's not going to work out, or they fear that nobody's going to give into it. You know what I'm saying? But you have to have that happen. There's so many motivational speeches out there about failure, right? They say you have to fail. Sometimes you have to fucking fall for you to get back up and push yourself again to say, okay, I'm not going to let this stop me. You think all these billionaires came to be billionaires overnight? No. They faced rejection here and there. They had to come up with ideas for business and it got turned down. They couldn't get loans or whatever the case may be, but they didn't stop. They were persistent to say, let's keep doing it. But at the same token, I'm sure they have people, family, friends, whoever saying, dude, keep going for it. Keep pushing yourself. It's even with athletes. Olympics, Olympians, they go in there, they have the coaches, they got their teammates, they got their parents, they got their friends, they got everybody telling them, push, grind. You got to wake up at 5 a.m. You got to run you got to sprint that 200 mile. You got to jump those hurdles. You got to do A, B, and C. But I mean, doing it by yourself can be difficult. It's going to take a little bit more. But what motivates people is to have other people behind them, supporting them and giving them that push. You said it. You listen to motivational speakers, right? Those motivational speakers are your push. They're the ones who are pushing you to put that vision into execution, to keep going through, because you see how they had those people motivating them to now they're saying, let me pay it forward and let me motivate these young entrepreneurs that want to come up into this business world to be able to do what I did. Why be greedy? You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm saying, like, I like that about your character, and I like that a lot about my characters of the people I surround myself with, is why be greedy when we can all break bread? You know what I'm saying? If I have a way for you to break bread because I'm breaking a lot of fucking bread, why not? Because I know also it's a good investment, because I know you're not just going to take it and do shit with it. I know you're going to take it and you're going to do something with it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, you need to put yourself into people that are willing to do the same thing. I get it. I'll be honest with you. There are those that I could see that you're just the person that I'm just going to chill with on a Saturday night here and there and won't take it any further. You're the person that, I'll meet you at a restaurant. We'll have a nice little dinner. Can't take it any further. But then there are others that you could be, okay, let me pick off for you. Let me pick off for you. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Let me get that feedback. Again, if it's negative, I appreciate that. I can't always just be listening to positive, because shit ain't always going to be 100%. You're going to have a downfall. You're going to have a break in the system. So you need those negative as well to say, hey, but did you think about this? I think you had the discussion with what we were talking about with Marcus and everything else, that it was like, okay, the positive is there. I see all the great value that's going to come from it. But did we think about this because of the religious aspect? Did we think about this because it might not sit right because their outlook is sort of different? So you need that sometimes. You need to have that sort of that bias to be like, hey, get it, but we also need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit because this could come up. So how are we going to deal with that? I think it's great. Keep pushing me. I'll keep telling you, yo, whatever, but don't be pushing me at fucking 6 a.m. Push me at 1 p.m. 2 p.m. You want to call me at lunch? Call me at lunch to push me. That's okay. I might not answer, but that's the beauty of the phone. I just don't answer. You goes to voicemail. You leave a message. So,
well, what was funny about it? So I'll say two things on this. The last thing I'll say on it. If you ever do anything right, and you tell people, and people are like, "Oh wow, that's dope. Wow, you cannot fail." Right? Those are normally your two different things. Have you ever told someone, "Hey, I'm doing this," and they don't even say shit? They just eyes get big and be like, "Whoa, nothing, right?"
The end of the headline.
So nothing. So I was at, and again, my family don't listen, so I don't. Even if they did, I mean, it's the truth. So I don't really care. Like, so we're at we're at my mom's house for Easter, right? So we go over there. We're over there doing it, and so I'm like, and I told him, like, my wife and I said her names, like, hey, we're gonna our online boutique store in 2 weeks. We'll be done. And their eyes are like, what are you doing, man? Like, it wasn't even like, oh, wow, it's interesting. So what are you doing? It wasn't that. It wasn't like, are you sure you should be doing that? It was just like, what? They're very religious people, so they just had the eyes like that. But you could tell they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, it was just like, for them, it was so left field. They were just like, wow. Their eyes just like, nothing. And I was just like dying laughing. It's just like, hilarious, right? Because it's like, like you're kind of like, hey, it's like, for my family, again, my grandpa's from Mexico. My goal in life is to be what he did for us. He changed the course of the family. That's all I'm trying to do. And I'm the kind of the first of my kind in a sense. I'm not the only one with a degree, right? First one to go to the military. First one to have rental properties but first one to have a company and stuff like that. But I'm like, hey man, this should be great, man. Our family, we're breaking the chains, man. Every generation is getting better. And instead of getting that right, they're just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, eyebrows up and just like, ain't that something? And so I was like, that is interesting, right? Because it's like, shit. But I will tell you, like, like, I seem very confident. I can tell you my ideas and stuff like that, man. But I will tell you, man, throughout this couple months, and even now, like, I know as soon as I hit that go live button, I don't know if this shit's going to work. There is a lot of doubt in me going on right now at this very moment. Like, there's not like, it's not all sunshines for me. It's not like, oh man, you believe in it. I'm so I'm so strong mentally. Dude, I'm like, there's sometimes I'm doing something like, what do I fucking know about this? I know zero about creating this stuff. I have no fucking clue, because my wife and I were talking about like a design, and they were like, hey, we should do it this way. And I was like, no, this. And she's like, hey man, I'm doing research and all these designers are saying this. And I told her, I was like, no, I have to do it this way. Like, this vision is so clear in my brain. It has to go this way. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm not afraid to tell you that it will work. I'm not afraid to say I was wrong, but I have to do it this way first. But honestly, I don't fucking know, man. Like, we really don't know. We hope so. Like, I've been putting it on Facebook. It's getting a lot of love on Facebook. Put on G's getting a lot of love too as well. So sounds like it's gonna do really well. I have a really good idea to plan it for marketing. But you really don't fucking know, man. You honestly have no clue if you do something, if it's gonna work or not. And there's a lot of doubt right now. I'll be honest, 100%. It's not all like, oh my goodness. But again, I'm just sitting there saying, like, have a plan, execute the plan. Keep it fucking simple. We're just doing this. And when I hit live on that button, it may not be perfect. It may not be the greatest, but it's the most I can do at the moment. And I have to just say live. Because I already told my wife, we're already thinking about working on version 2.
Already.
Yeah, we're just, fuck it. We'll do it. If people don't like it, cool. We're already, we'll hit live on a Sunday. Monday, we start working on version 2. Cool. Let's start making it better. And that's all I know how to do is, it's okay. Like, and that's why I tell a lot of people, it's okay to fail. It's just, so you fail, and then you sit there and say, okay, cool. How can I make it better? And so that's what we're doing, really, honestly, is just sitting there saying, like, fuck, man, this could be a flop. Okay, cool. What is somebody's biggest critique? Let's tackle that bitch first. Let's say there's 100 things wrong. Number 1. All right. Now that's off the board now. Cool. Let's go number 2. And we'll just get better. And I think that's the harder part in life, right? Is, and especially for us veterans, man, because, when we get out, and I was this person, dude, they were like, when I was getting out, people were like, what are you doing? I was talking shit. I was like, dude, I'm going to school. I have a plan. I'm going to school. I'm going to open up my own business. Me and my friends, we're going to open a tattoo shop. Cool. Got out, That's what I did. Went to school. We started opening up. We started getting the permits ready for a tattoo shop. That shit failed miserably. I only went to class for one semester. Failed 2 classes, by the way. Took 4 classes. Failed 2. Barely passed one of them, or 2 of them. Barely. Like we're talking about 70s, like C's. And the tattoo shop failed miserably. Didn't even get off the ground. So much infighting, and I lost money. All my money that I had left when I got all the money, synced into that shit, went right into debt. So it fails. Like shit sucks. It's like, have you tried it? Like, yeah, it fucking failed miserably. It wasn't even like, you know what I mean? It wasn't even like, oh, you fell. Like, nah, you know, like it kind of was a slow. It was just a up and fucking crash. Within 6 months, you're like, what happened? Like, I failed. Like damn, like that was fast. You're like, yeah, I failed really fucking, you know what I mean? I learned a lot from it, of course. But what I'll tell you is like, man, like shit happens, man. You can have a fucking plan and execute it, and shit can still go wrong. But I'll tell you this though, that fucking tattoo shop's still in my fucking mind. I still look at it and tell my wife like, hey man, you know, because I'll tell you this clothing company, right? This is an idea from 16 years old. I was 16 years old and I would draw out a shirt and be like, oh, you know, I'm having this idea. And so what else have I thought about doing? A gym. So my wife's like, hey, do not be fucking surprised. The next 5 years, I open up a gym.
Average Joe's gym.
She shakes her head and is like, hey, you know what I mean? It's for real though. Like, right. Because it's again, the idea that I've been saying a long time, chasing whimsies, man. These are fucking ideas I have. I've tried a couple of them and they failed. Version 2. Let's go, man. All right. We learned a couple lessons, and also what I've learned, can I help pass that on? Right. Can you help tell someone like, hey man, you know, I have a vision of becoming a barbecue. I want to open my own barbecue spot. Man, that's awesome. Cool. Let's get together. Let me give you some lessons learned. Let's kind of talk about these things. Let's get a better plan going, and cool. Cause whatever I failed at, you can now learn it. Now you can make more mistakes without having that same cost.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we're at with that one.
And that's good, because the one attribute of all that is that you learn from those errors. You know, so you take that failure and you try to flip it and make it into a success. So like you said, you have doubts, but I feel like everybody who goes on a business venture is going to have doubts when it comes time to fucking put up or shut up, because you put too much hard work. You and your spouse have put too much hard work for you guys to turn around now and say, yo, this was a bad idea. Let the people tell you that it's a bad idea, because it's like fucking crypto, right? Am I going to fucking invest in this currency here? I mean, it's going to go up and down. It's like doing the stocks. You don't know how it's going to work out. One day we're in the fucking plus fucking 30%. The next day we're fucking minus 100%. You never know until you just go. Yeah. You just got to follow through with it. You know, you already faced failure one time. That doesn't mean that it'll happen again. It might, but hopefully, you know, you have fucking luck on your side, and it'll go well for you. Maybe we need to get Tiffany and Teresa to give you a tarot reading and see what's gonna happen for your Oki Boutique. But the doubt is always gonna be there, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's gonna happen no matter what. Any venture that you take on, whether it's business, whether you're trying to fucking try out for a sports team, whether you're trying to try out for, you know, a professional, whatever the case may be, even for interviews. Going up for job interviews, you start doubting yourself, like, yo, am I qualified for this job? You know, am I going to say the right things? What do I say if they ask me this? Like, you're always, that's like, you know, human nature, that we just got to constantly think hesitant, sometimes negative, and everything else is going to happen, you know, but just put it out there. Let's do it. Execute it and see what happens, man. I like the stuff, you know what I'm saying? The stuff that you have shown me, I love it. I'm sure the other people will give you their feedback, and you guys, you know, you just go from there and see what happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The wife has not liked some of my designs, by the way. I was about to make the first order. Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. I'm about to make the first order where I'm like, cool, I'm going to make a first order. I want some new clothes. Again, got to get like smaller sizes. And so I'm doing it. And so I'm like, hey, I designed this. She goes, And if you've been married for a while, or you known someone from a while and they're a female, and they give a look to you, and I'm just
daggers.
Like, you screaming at me now? Now you're going to just tell me, right? I'm just like, I was like, all right, so what is it then? She's like, no, it's fine. I was like, do not give me that shit, man. I've been with you too long, woman. I know your looks. You give me a small little look. That's a whole sentence for me. I've been with you that long where I know exactly what you mean. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I just look at her like, hey, what's up? Like, help me then. And she's just like, well, you know, and she's like, it's okay. And she's like, it's okay. I'm like, all right, shit's gone. Fuck it. Like, okay, I need you to kind of help me fix this shit. Then she's like, okay. Yeah. And she comes back And then she's like, okay, I took care of it. And I'm just like, and that's another thing, man, with this process, man, our marriage has changed in a sense because we're learning how to work together because I execute, I make decisions. I'll be like, do that. And she'll be like, Jesus. And she's like, why? And I'm like, this is, and I can lame them all out. But in my mind, it's yes. And then, but I have a reason for everything. And then hers is like a very methodical, like everything has to be like in precise locations. So what I've had to do, man, is just make a whole bunch of designs. She'll go through and fix them. Cause she'd be like, that little thing was irritating me the way you had it this way. I'm like, I'm moving at 1,000 miles. We're going to make mistakes. I'm so happy making a mistake that I'm like, cool, let's go. And she's like, no. So, you know, those are some things too, man, where you start learning like partnerships. And, you know, even with this, you and I, again, you know, I've talked to you a couple of times about what I'm thinking. And the reason why I do is because you give me that perspective. And hopefully I'm responsible enough to be like, I think I have been where I'm like, I didn't think about it like that. Okay. Because I have to recognize it that, you know what, I do have blinders on as well as you.
Never.
And so when you're around friends and they're sitting there saying,
I said never, but go ahead.
Please.
But just keep in mind, I'm not your wife.
When it's about New York.
So you can't just talk to me however you want to talk to me and just be like, I'm in charge. You're going to do it and you're going to paint it this way and draw it this way and design it this way. No, Papa. You got to let her make, you know, some decisions as well. It has to be 50-50. You can't just always constantly turn her ideas down. Like let her because the reason why I say that is because the engagement you're taking in this business is online, right? We're doing an online setup. So that allows room for other designs, you know? So yeah, I get I want this shirt to be this way, this pants to be, but her ideas could be in there too, because you have so much multiple things to look at, to view. You got pages of different attire that you could showcase on there versus it just all, okay, so pages from 1 through 60 are all Mike. And then she only gets 61? And then the rest is all Mike?
No. No. So one thing is like, no, that's not even happening.
You gotta let her. Let her put. She's in the venture with you. She's your ride or die.
So that's the thing, though. She is, but what I'm saying is that's how you start learning each other so much. Where you sit there and say, "This is what you're good at, and this is what I'm good at." I'm good at sitting there saying, "Here's a decision. We're moving forward, direction." And she's really good at sitting there and saying, okay, cool. Well, then let's fix this. Let's fix that. Let's make it more like attentive to the eye. So when you start seeing it, it's going to look a little bit different than what I had envisioned. And so that's what I'm saying. We have a direction. We go for it. But my skill set allows me to sit there and say, we're moving this way fast. Her skill set doesn't allow her to move that fast. So we complement each other where I can move fast and she covers my weakness because it's just not crooked. Maybe it's a little too big. It doesn't look aesthetic in a sense. And so that's where her and I have learned to sit there saying, okay, you go forward and I will come from behind and clean it up because that, and then again, man, there's nothing like sitting down and saying, okay, hey, this is what I was thinking. Okay, cool. And you know what I mean? Like, I was thinking this. Okay, we had a disconnect. Sit down, you talk it out and you go through and you're like, cool. It's the vision overall of this one. Hey, here's this. Here's the reason. And also here's the reason. Because sometimes you can sit there and say, here's this, and be like, why? And you're like, fuck, man, today's Tuesday, and like I had potato chips, and that's it. You know what I mean? So there's that, you know what I mean? And also, by the way, she wanted me to mention this. She was listening to one of the podcasts. She was like, when we're talking about, you know, like when my daughter moves out, right?
She's like, oh, hell
and she goes, yeah. So she looked at me and she goes, so you're telling me, she's like, hey, so are you saying we're not going to have no vacations until she leaves the house? I was like, no. She's like, you made it seem like you're making it seem like there's that. And I was like, all right,
the evidence.
So there's
the evidence.
Hey man, it's 100%. I didn't have to tell the story. But I will be honest with you. I told her, hey, look, I was like, okay, I was wrong. I was like, just where everything's going on right now, my mind is only thinking about work for the next 2 years. I was like, but if we can get this going off the ground and we're successful in different other things, yes, we can take other things. So if I did come across as like, hey, I'm never going to have a vacation with my kids or something like that. No, as of right now, I'm so focused on this one, but I do have somebody who's like, hey man, you gotta really like, we're here to have fun too. So, or we gotta have fun with the family. So, you know, when it comes back to the earlier things, if I made it seem like I will not have another vacation, so my daughter's 18 and she's gone, that's not like wholeheartedly true.
He's not my dad. I ain't going nowhere. No Disney cruises. We're never going back to Disneyland, apparently. Did I mention that story about Disneyland? Nah.
But, you know what I mean? That's what's good about having a spouse, man. That's what's good about having someone on your team, having someone who calls you out. Like there's someone, hey, look, she's like, hey, what are you thinking that? And then I was like, no, there's that. And I was like, okay, so I was incorrect on that portion, but that's the beauty, man, of having a team, man. And that's one of my biggest gripes, man, about the military is we're team oriented. We work really good in teams. Like you and I, we've had to sit there and we divvy up some of the duties between doing this podcast, and it's a lot better now. It's so much easier on me, easier on you to do those things because that's what you're good at doing. I'm not good at those things, and so we started just okay. What are you good at? What am I? Okay, and that's the thing I would tell everybody, man. Is like that's my biggest gripe with the military is we're team oriented individuals, and however when we get out, we just do it on our own. And it's the dumbest shit in the world because we have so much to offer in teamwork. Because again, there's somebody who's in charge of the program, somebody who's in charge of the project, something like that. And there's somebody who's sitting there saying, okay, cool. Let me keep you honest the whole time because I don't think you thought about this side. And let me keep that up. You got to keep that up because if not, the whole project's at risk because you didn't think about this. And so you need these people in your lives, just like you need team players. And kind of like what Izzy was saying earlier, man, if you're having people who are not either pushing you or kind of letting you know, like, hey, man, you're having a flawed idea. Again, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. The only problem with being wrong is that there's no one to tell you're being wrong, or you're just too stupid to understand that you don't know it all. You can be wrong. And so I think that's amazing, man. It's like we're team oriented individuals. I mean, you put us in a group 4 or 5 of us, man, which we got coming down the pipeline with that shit. You're going to be amazed at what we can do. Because we are wonderful in a team. We understand how it runs. We have a hierarchy somehow established. We're okay with it. It can go back and forth. And man, but once we start doing it on our own, again, that's why so many of us veterans have that story of getting out and having a hard time. Because the number one key issue, the commonality between it all is me. I was on my own and I was doing this. I didn't want to tell nobody I was doing this. Every story we've had so far, it's always that same thing where everyone's kind of like, I had this issue. But never once do you sit there and say, man, I had this issue. And then my boy John was what makes me, man, and we were doing like, never. Why? Because you're doing it alone and we're not that.
Yeah.
way.
And I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I know you said that you don't really care what people think, but I feel like you don't care what they think, but you take it into consideration because I don't think you would have been aligned with the people that you're aligned with if you didn't care about what they would say. So for me, I feel like those people, their words do mean something because I know you would take it. I mean, for example, Q is giving you advice or guidance, whatever the case would be, and you're following through. You're caring about what he's saying to you. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like we definitely don't need to isolate ourselves. And you're right. I feel like as veterans, we tend to do that because we always think about, you don't know what I've been through. You can't relate. You even fathom the things that I have gone, the trials and tribulations. I mean, and it's true. A lot of the civilians, they really can't understand, but that doesn't mean that there's not other people out there that you could connect with to help you through the process where they do understand. Social media has, in the 90s was even harder because we didn't have what we have now. So you had to talk to people. You had to speak up to say if something was bothering you, and that's one of the things that I'm grateful with the military is as you progress and became an NCO or supervisor and everything else, you had to transform yourself to be like, let's sit down and let's talk about it. Like, what's bothering you? Like, you started recognizing the mannerisms, like you started getting the cues that I was able to look at my airman and be like, something's not right with Mike today, and then tactfully be like, hey, Mike, can we talk for a little bit? Yeah, let's go talk. Hey, normally you're happy-go-lucky, you're positive, everything all right. For me, I don't like to meddle in people's business. If you want to say something, but I try to present you with that door for you to open it to be like, let's talk. Because sometimes even back in the days, a lot of these airmen felt that nobody cared. And the fact that one person showed them that love to say, hey, I do care. I do want to know what's bothering you. I do want to listen to what you're saying. I want to hear your ideas. You would see that switch flip to where they're like, man, this person does care. And I would see how that person's demeanor would change. The next day, they're more like, good morning. The day after that, they're laughing with the other workers. The day after that, they're volunteering and trying to be a leader now. They're trying to bring everybody to, hey, come volunteer with me together. And that's another thing that I had to learn too, was whenever we did volunteers, I try to bring the airmen with me. I've done many homeless shelters, feed the homeless, you know what I'm saying? But I sometimes didn't want to go by myself. So what I do, hey guys, you want to come with me? Let's do it. Yeah, you know, it was a EPR bullet or whatever, but it was more just trying to bring us together. Because for me, as I progressed to where I was, you know, NCOIC of console operations or whatnot, when I did that, when I put myself with them, when I was going and volunteering with them, when I was engaging with them, even just say, hey man, you did a good job today at work. I noticed that whenever they saw me around, or whenever they work with me, they always wanted to do more than they would with somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like they would be like, okay, for, you know, at midnight, we need to do ABC. I would go to stand up to go do ABC, and that junior controller would be like, no, Sergeant, I got it. Because of just the fact that I've done all those things with them. I've always noticed that when you do more and you engage more and you are one with them, like you put them on the same level with you, they would give you 110% all the time. All the time. And I even heard people tell me, man, when are we working together again? Because some of the other NCOs, they couldn't stand working with them because they saw them as, you're my subordinate. So go clean the bathroom. And they were like, damn, what? Because don't get me wrong, nobody liked cleaning the bathroom, but there were times I'll do it because I'm not always going to push that on you. I'm not always going to be like, yo, Mike, go clean the bathroom. Nah, man, we're in this together. So go ahead and do something else. I'll go clean the bathroom today. Since the last time we were on shift, you did it. We'll do it back and forth. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes they don't, you know, you got to be on the same level with them as well. And sometimes people they're not that way, but crazy.
Yeah. I definitely learned that about leadership, man. That's one of the key things. I've literally had people run for me because it was a big deal for me, and I've seen them like literally fucking run. And the reason why, and I told this to one of my old troops, man. And this is it's so simple and it's so aggressive, but I want it to be that way, and I think it has to be that way. Which is sometimes, like, to be a good leader, you just have to give a flying fuck. It's so basic. Because a lot of those things are not there, man. And what I mean by you got to give a flying fuck is you got to actually care about this person if they're with you or not. Like, and so I've had people, when it was working for me, I sit there and say, oh, cool, like, I'm going to help you get not to work, or not, you know, I would hate to lose you as a worker or something like that because you're awesome. But you don't want to do this. Let's get you over here then. Let's get you outside or away from me. But because it's either a promotion or it's what you really want to do. You don't want to do this anymore. Well, cool. And let's say I do that. And you only work for me for 6 months. I promise you, I got more out of that person for 6 months than I got someone for me for 4 years who was just there chilling, didn't give two fucks. Why? Because the motherfucker was like, hey, man, you take care of me. I want to take care of you now because you actually care about me. And one of the biggest things I'll sit there and say, you know, going back to leadership, if you care about their time and their money, those are two things that I learned in the military. You fuck with people, you fuck with them hard. If you really want to mess with somebody, you take away their time. Or you take away their money, man. That's if you really want to get punishment, man. Fuck 50 push-ups. Fuck trying to, you know, degrade them. I'll just keep you after work for an hour, and we will sit here together. And we'll go after like AFIs. We will do training all day for an hour, and you will be pissed off about an hour versus me punching you in the face and doing all those things. Because I'm messing with your time now, right? That's really true. By the same token, when I care about you, I care about your time. Hey, do not work right now. Do not do that stuff right now. Like, you're off of work. Do not do those things. I care about your spending time with your family. And I really do mean that with leadership, man. And that's another thing we're not really talking about within vets as well. Man, I love our community, and I do have a lot of fucking gripes that I'm trying to address by saying, hey, let's fix this, let's fix that, or some shit. Like, some of the things that we do is fucking bananas to me. But one of them is we don't really talk about our leadership skills that we have, that, again, most civilians at the age of 22 did not have some kind of leadership. And a lot of it was earlier than that, right? We're saying 22 is a general statement of E4 status at 4 years. It's general. A lot of us was 2 years in, man, we're talking about leadership. A couple weeks in, talking about leadership. And so, again, man, like, we're not really talking to people sitting there saying, like, hey, man, I have actual leadership experience. And if you were a horrible leader, you have some of the best experience there ever was. Because, you know, don't ever do that dumb shit again. Don't ever treat people like that. Cool. You know what I mean? And so I think that's weird that, there's, I think you and I are talking about a lot of things like that, and people are sitting there saying, man, it's like, dude, you have so much on your plate of skills and assets and these things like that. You have so many skills of communication, problem solving, ability to sit there and say, go left. To a lot of people, the ability to sit there and say, I need any direction, go left. And they don't have that because they're just stuck. And so people would literally stop doing stuff and just wait. Why? I don't know what to go. Fucking go left. And you're like, well, whatever is wrong with them, we'll go right. You're like, and it's like, well, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we just got to keep moving. We just got to go forward, right? We'll fuck up. Cool. We'll go all the way to the right then, or we'll adapt. And so I think that's what, like I said, man, I think that's why people love the military. Like they love our veterans because we have so many more skills, but if we're not utilizing them, man, you got to understand the government put millions of dollars into you for a reason. Utilize that shit, man. You got more things that you can do. Like Heather and Heidi, having the idea, just the balls in general to go do acting, right? But also that to sit there and say, I'm going to take the initiative and we're going to start doing this because I know they're looking for this. I'm going to go beach, man. I'm fine. Check now. You look back at it and you're like, man, that's what got y'all going. Man, that's amazing. They had to learn this. They had to learn that. Same thing with Marcus, right? Boom. Cool. We want to do this. We want to do this in the future. Full time. Initiative. Boom. Where they at now? We're making it happen now. Before anyone starts giving us doing this and that, we're going to do it ourselves. And I think that's what it is. And that's what the military has really taught us, initiative in a sense of like, go do it yourself, go figure out a way to find a way, partner with the right people. That's a skill set we have. Again, even with this podcast, me by myself is a lot different than you and I together, man. You and I, you bring out a different piece of me and you have a different vibe. You have a different energy. And it's like, cool, partner, fuck it. Let's partner and keep going forward.
I bring out the best in you is what I do. I do that to everybody.
No, you act, your old and crazy saying breaks down my barrier where I'm started laughing because I've never had anyone be like, who is
this? This thing in my tooth is really
it is so loud.
It really is. You see it?
Dude, nobody would know that.
It's fucking bugging me right now. You don't know how long I've been fucking snipping at this thing to try to take it out. All right.
So, hey, the last thing we need to talk about. We got one last piece of business to talk about. All right. So, what are we gonna do to trademark your laugh?
I know,
because that's a real thing.
I've actually had a friend that called me, and the first thing he told me was, "Dude, we need to do something with your laugh. We need to put something on it." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like I need to patent my laugh?" And he was like, "Yes." He's like, "Patent the laugh." He was like, "Because it's unique. Like you sound like you're running out of air when you're laughing, like you're trying to fucking get air in." But that's the one thing he noticed when he was, watching. And I'm glad that they're watching, they're listening, everything else. But he called me out of the blue, and I haven't talked to him in a while, so it was kind of nice, for him to show that love like that and everything else. But I probably do need to fucking trademark this shit before somebody else takes it from me,
Dude, so the reason why I mentioned that, the wife will be listening to the podcast, and I'll go by her. And she starts laughing because it's your laugh. I just do that every time she listens to the podcast. I just walk by and I just do your laugh, and she just starts laughing because it's one of those things where people know exactly what I'm talking about. Like if you're listening to a podcast and you were to make that laugh, you'd be like, "That's Izzy's laugh." It's just,
but it's for real. You know how some people got fake laughs, like they just be like, "Haha," just to like show you that they think your shit is funny. But it's genuinely my real laugh, man. Especially like if you really make me laugh. Oh man, I'll start crying. I'll turn red, and I have like a couple of good friends that when I'm talking to them on the phone and everything, we sort of get into this fucking sync that I'll throw a joke, they'll throw a joke, and the next thing you know, we're just constant. And I'm like, literally, my stomach hurts. I'm crying, like I'm on the floor, just dying laughing. And even with comedy shows, if you could get me like that, like you did a fucking hell of a show, man. If I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I'll laugh at maybe one joke and then the rest of the jokes suck, but I'm not like laughing the way I laugh, then you're not really doing a good job. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I need to go take this shit out of my tooth, man. This shit is bugging me.
All right, we'll call it a day here.